Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Pro Wrestling Throwdown for the week of January 16th, 2021. Luke the Big Dog Williams, I'm Caleb Black, along with our in-studio producer, the Mighty Max Fury, and it's time for this week's Deep Dive. The reason we've selected the person for this week's Deep Dive, is we've already covered her in one news segment.
Yes.
Amy Dumas, Lita, as she came forward and said she didn't want to participate in the live sex celebration. As we mentioned, it was the highest rated Raw at that period of time, and it's actually the 14 or 15 year anniversary since it happened.
Yeah, that's got to be still in at least the top 5.
Yeah, it's like top 10 still.
At least still.
So we decided we haven't covered a female superstar in a deep dive in a little while. So today we're going to talk about Amy Dumas, Lita, former member of Team Extreme, former several-time WWE Women's Champion. Basic background, she got her start in CMLL when she was just a teenager. CMLL is the premier professional wrestling company in the world. Actually, it's the oldest established professional wrestling company ever. Established its LLC in 1908.
Which is just ridiculously
it's
a
literally
long time.
Over 100 years old, which is crazy. Later on, she would come to the United States, and she would work first for ECW as
Miss Congeniality.
Miss Congeniality.
She was basically brought in as a quote-unquote fan for Danny Doring to propose marriage to. Of course, with ECW, there was chance of she's a ring rat. Or she's a whore.
Right.
Or,
Vicious
she's like Louise.
Philadelphia ECW. Later, she was only in ECW for 6 months before making her debut in the then WWF as a liaison manager to S.A. Rios.
Yes.
She was there when she was paired with him shortly on SmackDown before transitioning to Team Extreme.
For those of you who don't know who S.A. Rios is, he was in AAA as the Latin Lover.
Yes.
Was his name before being S.A. Rios.
And was signed very early in his life. I think it was like his early 20s to the WWF.
Not only that, he was one of the youngest, quickest to make a video game debut for the WWF, too.
Either way, Amy then would pair herself with the Team Extreme, Jeff Hardy, and Matt Hardy, where she was the third person in their collective or group or faction or whatever you refer to it as. Made her, that's really where she got her superstardom. That's where it started for her. She was so impressive athletically. She could do all of the crazy flips, all of the crazy stuff that both Matt and Jeff were already famous for. And really, lots of and there was some controversy, which we are going to discuss. But more to her accolades, she was also in all 3 of the first Raw main events that featured female superstars. And she won all 3 of them.
Yes.
She beat Trish Stratus on Raw. She was in one mixed tag match and another one, which I can't remember. It may have been another match with Trish. But she won all 3 of those matches. As we said before, several-time WWE Women's Champion, WWE Hall of Famer, would go on to have a real-life relationship with Matt Hardy. We all know what happened. We all saw what transpired on TV. We'll cover it very quickly.
Actually, we talked about it last week.
Yeah. She would engage in a relationship with Adam Copeland while Matt Hardy was injured in real life. They started the relationship. Matt Hardy found out. Actually got Matt Hardy fired. And she gets a lot of flack for that professionally, but that's her personal business.
What a lot of people don't know is that at the time that everything had become public, with the Matt Hardy and the Lita and everything, that Lita and Adam Copeland had already split.
Yeah.
Like, their relationship was over by the time they had brought Matt to TV and all this to light of what had taken place. Her and Edge was already split.
Yeah.
Then they were stuck.
They were just paired on
having
TV
to, which, from what I understand, Edge has said a lot of, he's never said anything unkind, but he has said a lot of things along the lines of, it was like being, basically it was what it was, is like being put on TV with your ex and told, you guys are a thing.
So,
gotta be hard to do.
Don't forget, on TV, she was also paired with Kane before that in their fake marriage. She, the worst storyline, second only to Mae Young giving birth to a hand, was Lita becoming pregnant with Kane's
glove.
Yeah, whatever it was. Lita becoming pregnant with Kane's baby, and then the miscarriage angle with Gene Snitsky. Of course, we all remember the infamous "It wasn't my fault." Gene Snitsky punting the baby across the
Mae Young's baby glove had more charisma than Gene Snitsky. That's probably why it was.
That's fair. She would retire in 2006 due to an injury. And
that wasn't done in the ring.
No.
It was done on the set of the CW or the WB at the time.
Yeah.
As Dark Angel, where she was playing a superhero.
Yeah. She would retire, and she had such an unfair farewell on Raw. Her send-off was just so shameful. Crime Time coming out and selling her undergarments and things. And just wasn't very fair. After that, however, she would go on to start a rock band called the Lucha Gores.
Which actually is really, really good.
Yeah, they're self-titled. Their first album was titled their name as well. She would be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame in 2014, and then would later join Trish Stratus in a tag match against the Bella Twins, I believe, in 2016 at WrestleMania, if I'm not mistaken.
Wasn't WrestleMania. It was Survivor Series.
Oh, okay.
They were originally slated at Evolution that year to wrestle Alexa Bliss and Mickie James, but Alexa Bliss, that's when she had the concussion.
Right.
And they brought Alicia Fox in and botched the ending.
Yeah.
Lita and Trish, yes, they did go on to work the Bella Twins at Survivor Series that year.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Lita is always one of those people who just happen to pop up in the Women's Royal Rumbles.
Yeah.
One thing about Lita is she also does a lot of charity work for animals.
Yes, she is a huge animal rights activist. Actually, she not only donates but has her own animal rights foundation. That's her primary job now. Is that she helps wayward animals in the ways of veterinary hospitals, as well as supplying animal shelters with food, medicine, supplies, and has an adoption agency where she helps lost animals either get rehomed or find new homes. And
I want to say it's the Amy Dumas Foundation. Yeah. If that sounds
Which,
right.
honestly, everything about her wrestling I think is cool. I think that's the coolest thing about her.
Yeah, well, her wrestling, due to the backstage politics and stuff that took place, kind of puts kind of a black mark on a lot of it, but she is probably one of the most talented women performers.
Certainly among the most decorated as well.
Second only, in my opinion, to Trish Stratus. That's not where you thought I was.
No, I did not.
I actually did the right thing this go around. No, Lita definitely, she deserves her spot in the Hall of Fame.
She absolutely does.
I love the fact that they keep bringing her back for these Royal Rumbles because it gives you that. You get to see like her and Sasha Banks looking at each other in the ring, and it's like
kind of get that tease.
Maybe that would be something I would want to see.
Oh my gosh, yeah, Lita, especially Sasha Banks. Sasha Banks.
Alexa Bliss. Just in the corner with fireballs.
Oh, for heaven's sake! We're talking about Lita.
Oh, her too. She can come.
There's not a whole lot left to be said, other than the fact that not only did she fulfill what I think a role in wrestling for women at that time was very difficult.
Yes,
because they weren't really often considered for their in-ring ability. It was always more about looks, and affability.
Yeah. When Lita come in and she was part of Team Extreme, she wasn't looked at as a women's competitor.
No, she was
looked at as the third member
of Team Extreme.
Team Extreme. She would get in there and she would mix it up with the guys.
Yeah,
like Ivory or Trish herself.
Yeah.
Molly Holly also would.
Talk about when you talk about the women's revolution and how much better women's wrestling is
they
today,
started all that.
You absolutely cannot that. There is that space of time where women's wrestling wasn't very good. But right before that, when you had Lita, Ivory, Victoria, Trish Stratus, Molly Holly,
Jazz,
Jacqueline. I started saying Jacqueline, like
Mickie James.
Yeah,
Mickie James.
Towards the tail end there,
just so many great Gail Kim. Gail Kim, man. So many great women's athletes that were part of that generation. And Lita really was at the forefront of a lot of it. Talking about the fact that she was the first woman ever, was among the first two women ever to main event a Monday Night Raw. And this was at the height of their period of time on Spike TV where their ratings were stable and they were high. So that's a huge deal in and of itself.
And I'm sorry,
they've still been on USA Network at that time.
I believe that it was Triple H that was like, you guys go on last.
Yeah.
Because they were going to put Or maybe it was Cena. Maybe I think it was Cena.
No, I don't think Cena was the top guy there yet. That may have been happening in like 03 or 02.
Yeah, you're probably right. Then it had to have been Triple H.
Yeah.
Was like, no, they wanted us to go on. No, you guys go on last. I believe it was in Canada too, wasn't it?
And they got like 15 minutes. They only had
they actually had a
they only had one commercial break. They got a prime main event spot.
Yeah.
But absolutely, Lita is among the more inspirational, especially to today's generation of women's wrestlers. You talk about how often we hear from like a Deonna Purrazzo or like an Alexa Bliss, how big of an inspiration and how much they aspire to be like Lita. She left her mark on the business and showed that women's wrestling can be competitive. It can be exciting. It can be athletic.
Yeah, for sure.
They're not just women to look at anymore. And, she is fundamentally great. That's why we chose this deep dive for her. Lita, thank you for your participation and what you did for the wrestling business. Guys, go watch a Lita match.
Yeah.
Go watch several Lita matches.
Go watch
Go follow Lita on Twitter.
Go watch the Lita Trish Stratus from Raw that made the first main event. It will blow your mind.
Yep. Guys, thank you so much. That's going to wrap up the Monday Night Deep Dive. Don't forget to like, subscribe, leave us a comment down below what you think about Lita, some of your favorite Lita moments. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/ProWrestlingThrowdown. You can follow us on Twitter at ProWrestlingTD. You can send us an email at ProWrestlingThrowdown@gmail.com. Stay tuned, motherfucker!